Welcome, my brothers and sisters of the Imperium, and welcome to a brand new series on this channel. Here, we dive deep into the stories that define the Warhammer 40,000 universe, its heroes, its monsters, and the endless war that binds them all. Each episode will explore a different tale, sometimes tragic, sometimes glorious, from across the grimdark galaxy. Whether you're new to 40K or a long-time fan of the lore, this series is for you. Today we begin with Warhammer 40,000, Marneus Calgar, written by Kieran Gillen, with art by Jason Burrows and colors by Java Tartaglia. Published by Marvel Comics in collaboration with Games Workshop, this series gives us a rare glimpse into the origins of one of the Imperium's most legendary heroes. Across these pages, we'll witness the battles, the trials, and the choices that forged Marneus Calgar into the Lord of Macragge, Chapter Master of the Ultramarines. From his youth on the fortress world of Nova Thulium to the crucibles of war, this story reveals what it truly means to serve the Emperor. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. But among the endless slaughter, there are names that burn brighter than the rest. This is the story of one such name, Marneus Calgar, Lord of Macragge, Chapter Master of the Ultramarines. A warrior born not from privilege, but from trial. A leader who carries the weight of an empire on his shoulders. And in this series, we'll uncover how his legend began. If you enjoy this kind of deep dive storytelling, subscribe and join me as we bring the lore of Warhammer 40,000 to life. One story at a time. The Emperor protects, but knowledge prepares. The fields of Nova Thulium burn, the second company of the Ultramarines advances under the command of Marneus Calgar. We hear the rattle of bolter fire tearing through the smoke. The enemy, corn-worshipping cultists, charge without fear or reason. Calgar meets them head-on, his gauntlets roaring with power. Nova Thulium, a world once fortified in the name of Ultramar, now scarred by war. The air hums with the sound of servitors and distant industry, rebuilding what chaos sought to destroy. Within the heart of the stronghold, Marneus Calgar, Chapter Master of the Ultramarines, surveys the ruins with a soldier's eye and a commander's memory. His armor gleams beneath the cold light, its ceramite scarred by 1,000 campaigns. Hexamar,
Lord Calgar, I am 96.87% sure your mind is elsewhere.
Calgar,
merely remembering when I was here during the 13th Black Crusade, Adept. I recall this, a fine, defensible position.
I am Quintus Hexamar, the Adept tasked with reconstructing Ultramar's defenses after the Chaos incursions. It is a holy mission.
Calgar's gaze remains fixed on the horizon. For him, the past and present of war are one and the same. The fortress may stand again, but the scars of battle, both of steel and soul, never fade. The echoes of machinery hum through the grand hall of Nova Thulium's command bastion. Servitors shuffle between broken columns, their mechanical limbs carrying fragments of the past. Calgar stands tall, his armor reflecting the pale light that filters through shattered glass. The Mechanicus Adept, Hexamar, approaches, his Vox synth crackling. Hexamar,
Lord.
Calgar's gaze never wavers from the ruins beyond. Calgar,
there has been time to rebuild since my last battle here. One would have hoped repairs would have progressed further already.
He turns slightly, his tone weighed with duty. Calgar,
Nova Thulium is an important agri-world. It feeds this whole subsector and more. Its first impression should be one of unvarnished imperial might.
Hexamar's mechanical voice falters.
It has seen better days.
Calgar's expression hardens.
It has, and worse ones, when it was covered by heretics, when it was swarming with tyrannids, when it was decked with the corpses of the faithful, hands outstretched to the heavens for deliverance that came too late.
A beat of silence, only the sound of servo motors fills the air.
Compared to that, rubble is pleasant. If we are to be denied better days, we plan for the worse ones. Now, Hexamar, tell me of Ultramar's wounds, and how we may suture them together.
Hexamar's optics flicker, his mechadendrites whirring as data scrolls across his internal displays.
While some of my teams are still in the field, I have some initial analysis that...
A voice interrupts. Urgent, armored footsteps echo through the hall. Ultramarine Sergeant.
My lord, there is an attack. Here.
The air stills. Calgar's expression darkens. The calm before another storm. The chamber hums with sudden urgency. Servo skulls dart through the air, relaying reports, while armored boots strike the marble floor like thunder. A battle brother steps forward, saluting sharply. Ultramarine.
A force of heretics, my lord. They crashed a transport vessel into one of the harvest front lines. How such a small force managed to penetrate so deep is yet unknown.
Calgar's eye narrows, the red lens of his bionic glinting coldly.
Clever heretics. The reward for such ingenuity is death.
He turns, voice like a weapon being drawn.
Calgar.
Prepare a Thunderhawk. Bring me a demi-company of Marines. Unseal the gauntlets of Ultramar. The Mechanicus adept fidgets nervously, static breaking through his vox. Heximar.
My lord, I'm sorry. We must pause my analysis due to this unfortunate interruption. Perhaps we...
Calgar cuts him off, his tone absolute. Calgar.
Is your mind distempered? Why should we delay? I did not choose you for this task to waste a single second. The sector bleeds, Adept, and you are the one to stitch it closed.
Heximar's mechanical limbs jitter in shock.
You chose me. Oh, blessed Omnissiah. I merely meant we could wait for a quieter time.
Calgar strides toward the open hangar, his cape billowing, the roar of engines rising in the distance. Calgar.
We would wait forever.
He pauses, one last glance back at the Adept. Calgar, quietly.
Did you think we were in a time of peace, little Adept?
The words hang heavy, a reminder that for the sons of Ultramar, peace is but the silence between wars. The Thunderhawk lands amid the scorched plains of Nova Thulium. Lord Marneus Calgar steps forward, his armor gleaming beneath the ashen sky. Waiting for him stands Adept Heximar of the Mechanicus, his voice a chorus of static prayers and logic. Calgar speaks, his tone is iron, his purpose absolute. Supplies are running thin, but retreat is never an option. Heximar warns of numbers, of probabilities, of battles that data deems unwinnable. Calgar answers as only a space marine would.
Duty does not care what weapon it has. If not bolts, then blades. If not blades, then fists.
Even the Mechanicus bows to such resolve. Heximar accepts the impossible order, faith in the Omnissiah burning through the static of his voice. As the Thunderhawk rises once more, Calgar looks out across the burning fields and speaks with grim certainty.
We must pause once more.
The fields of Nova Thulium burn once more. Smoke coils into the heavens like the screams of the damned, and the ground trembles beneath the march of ceramite and steel. From the belly of a Thunderhawk, the sons of Guilliman emerge, bolters roaring, thunder echoing through the chaos. The air is thick with the stench of Promethean blood and faith. At their head strides Lord Marneus Calgar, the chapter master of the Ultramarines, a living relic of war clad in the armor of Heracles. Each step shakes the earth. Each strike is a sermon in the language of death. Heretics break against him like waves upon a fortress. Bolter shells detonate, limbs scatter, and still he advances, implacable, unyielding. His power fists, the gauntlets of Ultramar, crackle with righteous fury, tearing through traitors as if they were dust before a storm. Behind him, the warriors of Macragge press the assault, disciplined and merciless. Every shot is measured, every movement divine precision. The heretics, once screaming defiance, now howl only in despair. Through the slaughter, Calgar's voice cuts through the vox cold and resolute.
I have other business to attend to.
For the Lord of Ultramar, war is not an interruption. It is the natural order of the galaxy. Later, the guns have fallen silent. Across the scorched fields of Nova Thulium, the dead lie piled, heretics, traitors, and the faithless alike, their blasphemies silenced beneath the boot of Ultramar. Smoke coils from the pyres of war, drifting like the ghosts of the fallen into a blood-red sky. Upon the mound of corpses stands Marneus Calgar, his armor scarred and slick with the remnants of battle. Even victorious, there is no peace in his gaze. Heximar, ever the dutiful servant of the Omnissiah, approaches, his voice mechanical, uncertain.
Are these matters concluded to your satisfaction, my lord?
Calgar's answer is as cold as the grave.
No.
His voice carries over the field, a low thunder rolling over the dead.
To see such poor visitors to the world of my birth disturbs me. It should not be so.
He surveys the carnage, his augmetic eye flickering as it scans the ruin.
I am left with corpses and questions, and even more of the latter than the former.
The tech priest stirs, his tone clipped with confusion.
My field of study is weapons, not those that wield them.
Calgar's gaze turns distant, heavy with memory.
This place was never my home, he says at last, his voice a quiet storm. It is simply where I was from.
And with that, the silence of Nova Thulium deepens, the stillness of victory giving way to something colder, remembrance. The fires of Nova Thulium fade into silence. Ash drifts across the fields where Calgar once stood, the smoke of war curling into memory. But even the strongest warrior cannot escape the pull of the past. Centuries earlier, before the armor, before the titles, before Ultramar itself knew his name, there was only a boy, a world of soil and hunger, an agri-world where every breath was owned by duty and every life was spent in service to the Imperium's endless appetite. Here, survival was a prayer and childhood a luxury. And among the starving fields of Nova Thulium, a young laborer named Marneus ran through rusted corridors, clutching a tool instead of a weapon, unaware that fate had already chosen him for war. The air on Nova Thulium stank of smoke and machinery, a world built to feed others, not itself. The people labored in towers of steel and prayer, grinding out their lives to sustain the hive worlds above. Through those choking corridors ran a boy, barefoot, breathless, clutching a worn tool as if it were a treasure.
He's here,
he shouted, voice echoing through the iron halls. Workers paused only to glance. Weary, hollow-eyed serfs, already too broken by toil to share his excitement.
Marneus! He...
But the words were cut short by a cold voice.
Silence. Taciturn.
The older boy leaned against the threshold, posture sharp and confident, not cruel, but shaped by a world that demanded control, even from its youth. Behind him, the city stretched out, massive factories belching smoke, spires crowned with imperial saints, staring down in judgment. Taciturn slowed, swallowing his words. The hierarchy here was absolute, even among children.
Don't distract your betters,
the voice finished, and so began the lesson that would define Marneus Calgar's earliest years. On Nova Thulium, strength wasn't granted. It was taken, forged through obedience, pride, and survival. Steel rang against steel, the harsh rhythm of youth forged under imperial rule. The boys of Nova Thulium didn't play. They drilled. Each movement was a lesson in survival, every feint and strike another step toward servitude or glory. Marneus moved with quiet focus. His opponent struck hard, desperate, unrefined. But the blonde youth flowed around each blow, his expression cold and analytical. There was no cruelty in his eyes, only calculation. A single misstep, a flick of the wrist, and the duel ended with a sharp, wet sound. Blood dotted the dust.
First blood,
Marneus said evenly.
I win.
Even then, he didn't smile. Victory wasn't joy. It was proof. Proof that he was stronger, faster, destined for more than this starving, broken world. On Nova Thulium, Even children learned early. Mercy was a luxury they couldn't afford. The clash of steel had faded, replaced now by words, sharper in their own way. Severin sneered, wiping at the cut on his shoulder.
I had you retreating the whole duel, Marneus. If it were a real fight, I'd have won.
Marneus only straightened, his tone calm, unyielding.
The battle was to first blood. I fought the fight I was given.
His gaze was steady, disciplined, even in victory.
A warrior fights the battle before him, not the one he wishes for.
The others laughed, boys in blue robes pretending to be soldiers. One muttered, "He's quoting scripture again." Another smirked, mocking, "He hurts us more with his preaching than his blade." Marneus ignored them. His attention turned to Taciturn, the smaller boy, the one who'd carried the message.
Thank you, little warrior,
He said softly. Taciturn blinked, startled. No one spoke to him like that. But Severin's smirk returned.
No true space marine treats a serf like an equal. You'll disgrace the name of Guilliman before you even earn it.
Marneus met his eyes. No anger, only conviction.
There's no disgrace in honor.
Their laughter followed him as he walked away. But the tone had shifted. They mocked because they didn't understand. And though they didn't yet know it, they had just spoken with the boy who would one day command legions. The tension between the young nobles crackles like static in the air. Cato sneers, his words cutting deep.
Born to the richest house on the planet, all those resources, all that privilege spent on buying the greatest honor. Having a son who bestrides the galaxy as a space marine.
Marneus stands calm, composed, unbothered.
My father has hired this so-called special trainer, he admits, but there's purpose in his tone, defiance even. I've arranged for him to train you as well. All of you. My inheritance will pay for it.
Severin's face twists in disbelief.
You'd have a helot train nobles? He spits, scandalized. You may as well fetch a peasant from the fields.
But Marneus' answer is sharp, unflinching.
I thought your point was that the honor of being a space marine should not be bought by privilege.
Days later, they stand together before their new instructor. A giant of a man, scarred and red-haired, a machine lens gleaming from one eye. His voice is a gravel growl.
So, you're the ones who would be space marines?
He studies them in silence, the weight of his gaze making even Severin falter.
I wanted that too,
The man says at last. His tone softens, almost.
Let's make sure you do better than me.
The hulking warrior circles them like a predator.
So,
He rumbles.
the great blade teacher Crixus failed.
Crixus doesn't deny it. His mechanical eye hums faintly as he grips a training blade.
Those who pass the tests are taken away. The angels of death have better things to do than beat sense into the sons of aristocrats.
He pauses, his voice turning low, regretful.
I nearly passed that first test. Became a neophyte. Now I teach idiots as penance.
He slams the blade into the wall beside a trembling boy. I have sworn an oath. My life is forfeit if any under my charge are rejected. Crixus steps close, the knife at the student's throat.
Train with me,
He says, voice like iron.
You will either become a space marine or you will be dead.
The path to becoming an ultramarine is carved in blood, ice, and willpower. From pampered sons of nobles to dirt-stained serfs, all stand equal before the test, and most fall before its end. Thulium Minor, a frozen wasteland beneath a sickly moon. Here boys are stripped of warmth, comfort, and mercy, forged, if they survive, into the Emperor's chosen. Crixus, their grim instructor, wastes no time. His words are blunt as the cold wind.
Weapons and shelter lie at the far end of the valley, he growls. Get there, if you can.
The boys exchange uneasy glances, and then he's gone. Their laughter dies as the earth trembles. From the darkness, rises a nightmare of chitin and rage. An amble, hunger made flesh. Panic grips them. The weak would flee, but Space Marine aspirants are not allowed to be weak. Now, the centuries fall away. The boy who once stood trembling on Thulium Minor now towers in ceramite and gold. Marneus Calgar, chapter master of the Ultramarines. He surveys the battlefield, a sea of broken heretics and smoldering wreckage. Even now, with the Great Rift splitting the galaxy, Calgar finds no comfort in victory.
This attack was madness, he muses. No hope of escape, no strategy. Why?
Beside him, the tech priest's mechanical tones hum cold logic, but offer no answer. Calgar's gaze hardens.
To understand the heretic is heresy.
The priest warns. Calgar does not respond. He only looks to the horizon, where war yet smolders.
What they desire, he says quietly, that is what I will discover.
The story returns once more to the scarred moon of Thulium Minor, the smallest of Nova Thulium's satellites. A world once used to test the mettle of young Ultramarine aspirants, now reduced to a shattered relic after the 13th Black Crusade. Beneath the cold void, two tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus chant Binharic prayers, their voices a mix of reverence and static. The machine god weeps for the destruction of the citadel, yet rejoices, for from ruin the Omnissiah decrees rebirth. They speak of rebuilding, of raising a cathedral of war upon the broken ground. But something stirs, a ripple in the machine spirits. One of the priests senses unease. The sacred data links flicker with ghostly whispers. The air grows heavy as they realize they are not alone. Suddenly, shadows move. Vast armored shapes emerge from the darkness. Traitor Marines, ancient and corrupted, strike without warning. Lightning claws flash, silencing the priests mid-prayer. The last thing they hear is a cold, mocking voice.
Your Marines will not stop us this time.
The scene fades. The traitors vanish into the wasteland, leaving silence and the echo of mechanical prayers unanswered. A final image bursts across the page. The Ultramarines charging into a titanic battle, bolters roaring, banners raised high. The war for Thulium Minor has only just begun, to be continued